Something's coming. Something as mysterious as midnight, cool as ice. It's new licorice ice, mint with a surprising hint of licorice, only from Bellamint's.
Great taste that only happens here. Bellamint's. Great taste that's always cool and clear.
Cool refreshment. That's the Bellamint's taste.
Great taste that only happens here. Bellamint's.
Try new licorice ice.
The treaty is broken. The Cowboys and Redskins are on the warpath, preparing for the duel in D.C. From the nation's capital, Vern Lundquist and Channel 8 Sports get you ready for the NFC Championship game. See highlights, pregame preparations, and get an insight into the Dallas-Washington rivalry. It's a prime-time special report. Tomorrow night at 7, Duel in D.C. on Channel 8.
It's Coslow's Great January Fur Sale with savings of 30 to 50% and more on a beautiful selection of furs. Shop Coslow's Great January Fur Sale and save.
He wanted to be just like Bruce Lee. It's the birth of a great American hero. They call me Bruce. Rated PG.
Dean Martin is up to his neck in women. Women, the Wrecking Crew. Thursday at 11.
I'm David Hartman for Early News. It's World News this morning. Tomorrow on Good Morning America, Alan Greenspan and Senator Armstrong with the President's Social Security Commission. Next week, President Reagan's State of the Union address and his meeting with Egyptian President Mubarak on Good Morning America.
Stephen Brill is an attorney and editor of the American Lawyer magazine. He's also the author of a book on the Teamsters Union called The Teamsters. Stephen Brill is with us now in our New York studios. Mr. Brill, why should civilians who are not really involved in this, or at least think we're not, why should we care about the life, the activities, or for that matter, the death of Alan Dorfman?
Well, Alan Dorfman controlled the largest private pension fund in the world. His death is probably more significant than would be the death of the president of the Teamsters Union. He really controlled the union, really controlled the pension fund, and this is something that will affect not only the 1.8 million odd members of the union, but will affect organized crime around the country.
When you talk about the largest private pension fund in the world, you mean how much? Tens of millions, hundreds of millions?
Well, the Teamsters pension fund is worth roughly, the one he specifically controlled is worth roughly $2 billion, probably
$2 billion?
more. It would have been worth much more if he hadn't controlled it.
Why?
Well, the report we saw earlier, the investments were made in anything but what one should invest a pension fund in.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if the implication is that by investing in casinos you're not going to make a lot of money, I was always naive enough to believe that casinos made an awful lot of money. Why wouldn't that be a good investment?
If you're making loans that are less than prime rate, loans that are to parking lots in New Jersey that don't exist, loans that are to hotels that go bankrupt automatically and change ownership overnight into new hotels, I think that's what we're talking about. The Teamsters pension fund, the members, the rank and file, are the people who have suffered under Alan Dorfman's rule.
Because what? Because they haven't gotten their pensions? Or
their pensions are not nearly as high as they could be if that money that they worked for and earned had been invested wisely and carefully instead of used as a bank for organized crime.
All right, you're right, of course. $2 billion is an awful lot of money. How was it used beyond investment in casinos and building hotels and, as you put it, parking lots that don't exist?
Well, there were all kinds of schemes. There were investments in companies that automatically went bankrupt. There were loans even in legitimate enterprises that were for below prime rate. The loan that Dorfman was convicted of taking a kickback on was a loan that was made for an enterprise that went bankrupt. The interest rate was below what it should have been. He took a $50,000 payoff for it. And the losers were the people who worked very hard, who were the rank and file members of that union.
Explain to me, that it doesn't sound very smart to invest in things that go bankrupt.
It's very smart if you're getting a $50,000 kickback for it. There's nothing unsmart about that at all.
Well, except that when we're talking about sums in the hundreds of millions of dollars, or even a couple of billion, $50,000 doesn't seem like all that much.
If you get a $50,000 kickback for a $300,000 loan, which is what I think that was for, and you take that and you multiply it by all the other loans, you can do quite well.
All right, Mr. Brill, we talk in this kind of shorthand that we all use about the mob. First of all, I don't believe it's that kind of cohesive an organization. Are we talking about any particular part of the mob, any particular group that would be out to get rid of Mr. Dorfman?
I would say that what we're talking about here are the Chicago-based organized crime figures for whom Dorfman has always been a conduit and kind of an investment banker. And if your investment banker is about to go off to prison for 30 years, you really start to think about getting another investment banker.
Well, can't you do that without eliminating them?
You can, except that if he's under all kinds of pressure, whether it's been exerted or not at the moment, if he's looking at a 20 or 30-year prison term and he's 60 years old, you say to yourself, why should we take that risk? The point is that it's not much of a risk to kill him. Organized crime people have a pretty good habit of getting away with these things. No one is ever caught. Alan Dorfman is one of 2 or 3 people loose in the country today, or was, who really knows the facts of the Hoffa murder, for example. The FBI would probably give a lot to know those facts. Although they know the facts, they'd give a lot to have the testimony. They would have given a lot for Alan Dorfman's testimony. And I think I'm not the only one who's aware of that. I would say that whoever paid the people who pulled the trigger are aware of that.
All right, Mr. Silitz, you were Mr. Dorfman's attorney. Now you've heard the theory expressed not once, not twice, but 3 times that here was a man who, even if you don't believe he was going to do it, it was feared that he would do it. You at least buy that theory, that there are those who would believe that Mr. Dorfman might be tempted to do a deal here and that he could be killed for that reason. Or if not, what's your theory?
Well, I can't say that some people would not have that theory. I don't think it would be based on a precise knowledge of Mr. Dorfman and his character. I think the speciousness of the contention is that if someone were to fear that he were going to be making a deal, that this would be the moment to kill him. Obviously, at this point in time, he had not been sentenced, nor had an appeal been taken from that sentence. And if someone were to advance the theory that he was killed because of the fear that he could not stand a prison term, this would not be the moment to do that.
Why not? I can make an excellent argument that this would be the precise moment to do it. First of all, you want to do it before the man makes a deal. Secondly, you want to do it before he realizes that he may be in some kind of danger.
Well, the problem with that theory is that an assumption that inevitably he would have to serve a prison term. While I don't want to be in a position to comment about the case itself, I participated in that trial, and I think there are meritorious bases for reversal. Among other things, that case, as one of your panelists here has pointed out, involving wiretapping, was what they call the Pendorf, penetrate Dorfman. It was the most pervasive wiretapping in the history of this country. Some court of review someday has to determine whether that kind of penetration, if you will, should be a part of our judicial system.
That's an excellent subject for another program, but it seems to me that if you belong to a crime syndicate and you have concerns, maybe you are not as tightly married to these legal theories as you are, and are a little more cautious. And if you see a potential danger to your syndicate, you get rid of it.
Well, I understand what you're saying. All I can tell you that those who knew Alan Dorfman knew him to be what I would call a fighter, a person who stood up and never threw the towel in. And they would know that he would not be the sort of person who would do such a thing. And I suspect that the very people that you have a suspicion of having done this for fear that he would cut a deal with the government would be well aware of that.
All right, Mr. Healy, you're the head of the Chicago Crime Commission. We've got just a few seconds left. A closing comment, a closing observation.
Well, we still stick by the principle that a desperate man will take desperate means, and he may not be willing to stand up and fight. He had two indictments pending. The odds are against him on beating them all, and it just goes to the old adage, make the best possible deal. Even though he may not have been cooperating now, you got to look ahead. And I think that's the way they perceived it.
All right, Mr. Healy, Mr. Silitz, Mr. Brill, thank you all. When we come back, we'll have a late update on that airline hijacking that ended tonight in Portland, Oregon.
If you compare all the new cars for low financing and 550 protection, you'll find Ford doesn't give you both. GM doesn't, Toyota, Datsun, and Honda don't. Only Chrysler Corporation gives you both. 11.9 financing on every new 82 and 83 car, Dodge truck, every import. And 5-year, 50,000-mile protection on every new American-built car. Compare. For low financing and long 550 protection for your investment, you'll come to your Dodge or Chrysler Plymouth dealer.
Columbia Pictures presents the two most critically acclaimed movies of the season, Tootsie! The Best Picture of the Year, National Society of Film Critics. 5 Golden Globe nominations, including Best Picture.
I've never wanted a woman this much.
Tootsie, rated PG. And Gandhi, the Best Picture of the Year, New York Film Critics, National Board of Review. Nominated for 5 Golden Globes, including Best Picture. Gandhi, rated PG. From Columbia Pictures. Check newspapers for theaters and showtimes.
Oh, I'm glad to see you. It doesn't look too good.
No, it took me by surprise.
Most people would have thrown in the towel by now. But you didn't get where you are by giving up or giving in.
Is a few hours.
You have until 2 p.m., Counselor.
You're a professional. And now, no matter what your profession, there's a personal computer made just for you. Introducing the Professional, the new personal computer for professionals from Digital Equipment Corporation. With professional graphics of incredible clarity and accuracy. Professional communications that let you talk to other computers in your office or out. And since you have to do more than one job at a time, so can the Professional. And it's all easy to learn and simple to use. Not even the biggest computer company in the world gives you so much.
Your case. Court's adjourned.
But the second biggest does. The Professional from Digital. The personal computer has lost its amateur standing. Digital Equipment Corporation. Computers for professionals, from professionals.
Federal officials late tonight identified the man they say hijacked an airliner in Portland, Oregon earlier today and was subsequently killed. His name, Glenn Tripp. Officials said Tripp had been involved in another hijack attempt in 1980 and was on probation. Today, Tripp allegedly seized a Northwest Orient jetliner as it landed in Portland on a flight from Seattle. ABC's Judd Rose reports on how the drama ended.
Northwest Airlines Flight 608 late this afternoon at Portland International Airport. Inside, 35 passengers, 6 crew members, and an anonymous young man with a box which he said held a bomb. After 3 hours of negotiations, the FBI went into action. A van pulled up to the jet as part of an agreement with the hijacker, who said he would release half of his captives if the plane was refueled and allowed to go to San Diego. Out of his sight, FBI sharpshooters crawled out of the van, on under the belly of the 727, and from there, they were hoisted up into the jet's cockpit. Even as the freed passengers were filing out the back, an agent burst out of the cockpit door. The hijacker made a sudden move. He was killed with a single shot.
And then all of a sudden, there seemed to be some, just like, I don't know, noise, you know, and the plane shook a little bit, and then there was a shot. And then he fell backwards, and he fell right in the aisle.
None of the passengers were hurt. After they'd been taken off the plane, the bomb squad went aboard and found there was nothing in the box. And the hijacker, who said he wanted to go home to Afghanistan, left Flight 608 in a coroner's ambulance. Judd Rose for Nightline in Portland.
One other late story, ABC News political director Hal Bruno has confirmed reports that Senate Republican leader Howard Baker intends to announce this weekend that he will not seek re-election in 1984. Bruno reports that according to political sources, Baker plans to return to the private sector and survey his prospects for a possible run at the presidency in 1988. The sources say Senator Baker has no plans to challenge President Reagan if the president runs for re-election in 1984. Tomorrow on World News Tonight, a look ahead at this weekend's National Football League playoff games. And coming up next, on The Last Word, A follow-up to tonight's 2020 report on former Miami Dolphins running back Mercury Morris, who was sentenced today for selling cocaine. Greg Jackson will have some surprising information on who uses cocaine and on what can be done to kick the habit. And Phil Donahue will discuss President Reagan's first 2 years in office with ABC's Sam Donaldson, David Broder of the Washington Post, and former Reagan aide Lynn Nofziger. That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
This has been Nightline. Nightline is a presentation of ABC News.
Herman Woukes, The Winds of War, premieres Sunday, February 6th.
The following Cowboys Great Moment is brought to you by Southwest Airlines.
In 1978 versus the Colts, Tony Dorsett exhibits the versatility that separates a good back from a great one. Dorsett's 91-yard touchdown reception is the second longest in Cowboy history and helps Dallas thrash Baltimore 38-0.
There's a certain Southwest spirit.
When was the last time you enjoyed flying?
We'll fix that. We're Southwest Airlines. You have to have fun or we won't let you off the plane.
You're going to love our Southwest spirit.
Yeah.
There's a certain Southwest spirit.
Quick check-in, quick boarding, quick trip.
Lots of flights. I mean, lots of flights.
That's true.
About 8 million flights a day.
Not true.
Well, maybe not 8 million.
We're Southwest Airlines.
We're fast, we're fun, we're inexpensive.
That's a good combination.
Good evening, friends. Bob Gunther once again for your volume sales leader for the month of December in Dallas-Fort Worth, Frontier Ford. You know, there must be a reason. People drive from DeSoto, Fort Worth, Grapevine, Denton. They come to Louisville. They come to Frontier Ford to do one thing. Neighbor, that's to save money. You buy a brand new A3 model Escort, $5,977. The only place in Texas to offer 9.9% APR financing. Drive it home for $129 a month. Only from Frontier Ford in Louisville.
Tony Curtis and Arrivederci Baby tomorrow. Stay tuned, because Dean Martin is up to his neck in women. Women. The Wrecking Crew. Next on The Big Movie.